If you have failed in CA for more than 3 times, it could be because of two reasons. Either you have wrong goals or you have poor execution, or both. The sole objective of this video is to give an escape plan for you and all those who are stuck in the vicious cycle of May, November, May, November. This video is packed with ideas that I have gathered from a lot of research and also from countless trial and errors that I have done. I am super sure that you will have at least 4 actionable takeaways that you have not seen anywhere else on the other YouTube videos that give CA advice. So watch this video till the end. Now, according to me, as a thumb rule, clearing CA is about 30% planning and 70% execution. I'll talk about planning in detail in a separate video. This video is strictly focused on how to get your execution right. First, let's start from your goals and ambitions. When you first enrolled in CA, what were your goals and ambitions? Is it to become a rank holder, or is it to clear both groups in a single attempt with more than 70% aggregate? No matter how big your goal was, it certainly did not help in your execution. It did not give you enough drive to push through during the hard times. It certainly did not serve to build enough focus in you. So the first step in the escape plan is to reset your goals. As of this moment, your goal should not be to become a rank holder or even a chartered accountant. Your immediate goal is to become a studious person. So who is the studious person? My definition is, a studious person is the one who does not need to fight himself or herself to sit with the books every time. He or she is a person who is consistent in clocking at least 7 to 8 hours of quality preparation every day over 5 to 6 months time. So stay away from the 25 different things that's bothering you right now. Things like peer pressure, family expectations, relatives' expectations. Throw all of these out of the window and focus only on becoming a studious person. Now, the obvious next question is, how does one become a studious person? Answer me, how does one become a sweet tooth? When someone has built enough evidence in their life of consuming sweet food in large numbers, they never said no to sweets. They always voted for sweets and never against. On the other hand, how does one become an athlete? Same process. They run, they lift, they walk, they stretch for the most part of their life. They voted for exercising and staying active and rarely against. So if you want to become a studious person, you need to cast more and more votes for studying and not against. You need to build enough evidence over 6 to 8 weeks from now so that you are a person who studies regularly. That shift in identity should happen on its own. Now that leads us to the final question. What are the ways in which you can cast more votes for studying and not against? Let's focus on some real actionable tactics. Tactic number 1. Change your vocabulary. How does a normal CA student talk to themselves when they are starting a study day? They'll go like, oh, today I need to finish PGBP, I need to finish amalgamation, I need to finish portfolio management. Do you see the pattern? It's always finish, finish, finish. That's the first problem. You need to change the vocabulary. Instead of using the word finish every time, use the word start. The problem with the word finish is that it raises expectations. In CA, almost every topic is a project itself, meaning you cannot start and finish them in one sitting. Capital gains is a project, consolidation is a project, derivatives is a project. So when you say, I need to finish derivatives, you subconsciously think that you need to tackle this big project and you need to finish it in one go, or you need to finish it perfectly. When you raise the bar of expectations, you also raise the bar of overwhelm. When you get overwhelmed, you become anxious and you won't think clearly. Then you need a coping mechanism. So you naturally look for some distractions. You would think picking up your smartphone and doing some scrolling would give you relief. And before you know it, you would lose 2 hours. And this is a pattern you might have undergone many times in the past. So you need to realize that a big finish is nothing but 100 tiny starts. Replace the self-talk in your head. Instead of saying, I need to finish PGBP, say, I know PGBP is a big chapter, but I also know that if I make 100 tiny starts at this chapter, this big topic would be over eventually. Remember, the big finish eventually arrives. It comes automatically after you make enough number of starts. So your new attitude should be, Let me start studying PGBP, and no matter how many disruptions come, I will keep making one more tiny start. In my case, I apply this change in vocabulary idea to my own life as well. Whenever I am making a YouTube video, I would say to myself, today I will start working on this new video and keep making as many starts as possible. I will not worry about when I finish the video. I would focus only on how to increase the overall number of starts I can make on the project. Tactic number 2. Gamify your CA preparation. As a first step, we changed our vocabulary from finish to start. But what if you still feel the resistance to study? Now this is where we are introducing a bit of gamification in our preparation. I am not a big fan of playing video games, but I have definitely studied the psychological tricks the game developers employ to make the users hooked into their products. I think you all must have played Angry Birds. Do you remember level 1 of Angry Birds? In case you don't remember it exactly, here it is. On a scale of 1 to 10, how easy do you think this level is? The easiness level is 10 out of 10, right? What happens when you pull the slingshot? You are almost 100% sure to hit somewhere in the stack of bricks and the entire structure is going to fall down. And the fall is accompanied by graphic explosions coupled with destruction sounds, and it will make you feel that you have accomplished a big thing. All you did was just left click the mouse, drag it enough and then let go of it. But the potential of the reward they give you is so high that you have your dopamine triggered and you cannot wait to begin to play level 2. This is how the entire gaming industry functions. They make the early levels so childishly easy and give you a reward that is so powerful that it gives you an instant high, and thus you are addicted to that platform in no time. Of course, the difficulty level increases as you proceed further in the game, or else you won't keep playing it. But at first, to get you inside their game universe, they keep it super easy and super rewarding. Let's see how we can employ these gamification ideas into our preparation. After reframing your brain from looking at the finish to looking at the start, you may gather yourself to sit to study. But then you would get the next doubt, how long should I stick to studying? 1 hour? 2 hours? That seems like a long time. Again, you are likely to ditch studying and procrastinate. Therefore, to counter that second resistance, we begin by reframing how we see an hour. An hour is not a full hour. An hour can be fragmented into multiple different ways. I like to split an hour into 4 segments of 15 minutes each. In my opinion, 15 minutes is neither too long that you would find it scary, nor too short that you would feel it too silly to ignore. So in the early days, you can do the same as well. Whenever you commit to starting something, your commitment lasts only for 15 minutes. At the end of 15 minutes, you can end the session. But the most important part is what you do after the end of the 15-minute session. You prepare a sheet like this. This sheet has some grids. Your job is to paste this sheet somewhere prominently in your study place, and after the end of every 15-minute session, you go and cross one grid. Crossing one grid is a moment of achievement for you. And then if you clock enough such sessions, you will see a new habit loop forming. That is, you will start a session of 15 minutes, you do a focused study of 15 minutes, and at the end of the session, you get to cross a grid. You keep doing this again and again till you hit the daily quota. By bringing these study sessions to just 15 minutes, you bring the frequency of reward moments much closer. Suppose you are studying 4 hours per day, then you would have 16 occasions to celebrate micro wins. At the beginning of your escape plan, every time you sit to study, your goal is only to stick around for 15 minutes with full focus. Tactic number 3. Lower your expectations. Don't get too ambitious too soon. This is the most important part of this video because most of us naturally tend to be highly ambitious. And also there is a lot of myth that's circulating in the CA field that to become a CA, one has to study 14-15 hours every day or at least 12 hours every day. The videos on YouTube that talk about this myth give you an impression that only if you study for 10 to 12 hours a day, you are doing meaningful preparation. I would say this is absolute nonsense. I never believed in the 12-hour per day myth because maybe for 1 or 2 days you can clock 12 hours in your preparation. Unless you are an outlier, it is impossible to maintain a schedule of clocking 12 hours per day for a continuous period of say 6 to 8 weeks. So if you have already failed in CA 3 times, why don't we try something new? Why don't we set a target that is quite low and build it from there? Why don't we set a target that is doable and sustainable across months and quarters? I would recommend you start with 3 hours per day. 3 hours with full focus. Instead of aiming for 10 hours per day and actually clocking only 6 to 7 hours and then feeling miserable about it, why don't we only aim for 3 hours, achieve it surely, and then feel good about it? Remember, in your escape journey, you should always ensure that you are feeling good about your accomplishments. That's also the reason why I asked you to keep study sessions for only 15 minutes at a time so that you get to feel victorious quite often. Applying our idea from the previous segment, if you have to study 3 hours per day, then that means 12 sessions, that is to cross 12 boxes per day. Go with this target for 1 week. By the end of the first week, 3 hours would be the new normal for you. You would become the person who can achieve 3 hours every day almost effortlessly without resistance. This is the short-term result that we are looking for. Now for week 2, you see if you can level up. See if you can increase your daily hour count. You can level up in the upcoming week only if you have accomplished the previous week's hourly target by at least 90%. If it is any number less than 90, you cannot level up. That means you haven't become comfortable with 3 hours per day. If your achievement rate is somewhere between 80 to 89%, then you don't have to worry. You can keep the same 3 hours per day as your target, achieve more than 90%, and then you can scale it up in the next week. But if your achievement rate is not even 80% in the first week, then that means even 3 hours is too high for you. Now you should lower down your target to 2.5 hours per day or even 2 hours per day. There is no shame in that. Now I would like to talk about a situation where you need to exercise caution and keep emotions under control. Suppose, let's say you smashed the target of 3 hours per day. Now you are brimming with confidence. Suddenly you feel like you can even take on 6 hours per day. You will feel like making a 2x jump. This sudden surge of motivation is nothing but the result of you accomplishing the daily target during the previous week. And it is likely to pass away soon. By the time your motivation leaves you, you will be faced with a big target of 6 hours per day and you might get into trouble again. The sense of accomplishment which you had at the end of the previous week will now feel like a sense of failure. So don't get into that trap. If you have been studying 3 hours per day, just slowly escalate it to 4 hours per day. 4 hours per day means crossing 16 boxes per day. See how the increase in the load feels. In your escape journey, you should always feel like you are in control even if you appear to be moving slowly. Always remember, if you are struggling to get into a rhythm, aiming for speed will kill you. Establish the control first. Speed and scale will happen on its own. Even if some of you are cynical about this slow progress, then let me ask you a question. The last couple of times you aimed big, you planned for finishing things quickly, you aimed for clocking 12 hours per day every day, but did that work? So why not try something that appears like a bad deal in the short run, but only to change you completely as a new person in 6 to 8 weeks from now. So once you are through with 4 hours per day and when you clear that level, then move on to 5 hours per day, then 6 hours per day, and eventually you will reach 7 hours per day. When you keep hitting 7 productive hours a day comfortably, keep the daily hour count at that level. 7 to 8 hours per day, 50 hours a week, that's the sweet spot. Now that is sustainable because you didn't jump at this level all of a sudden. You evolved week after week from 3 hours per day to all the way till 7 hours per day. It's an earned growth. It's not like you bench pressed 10 kgs on day 1 and then you suddenly bench pressed 70 kgs on day 3. It's like you bench pressed 10 kgs on day 1 and then you slowly increased to 20, 30, 40 and finally 70 kgs on day 120. Aiming for permanent change is the wisest thing you can ever do. And permanent change always takes time. Just be a bit patient. Just to bring some cricket, think of your escape journey as a Dravid's innings or a Pujara's innings. It might appear too slow, maybe a bit boring also, but you hold the crease. Stay not out. Keep your head steady and make sure your own ambitions don't lead you into trouble again. In 5 to 6 weeks, you will see yourself differently. Now, if you are even in much worse shape, that you haven't even picked up your book for the last 2 days and all you have been doing is just binging on TV series or doom scrolling, then I just have the right video for you. Make sure you check it out. So implement this escape plan for the next 5 to 6 weeks and let me know in the comment section below how did it go and did it really work and what are all the things that you can change or what are all the things that you newly tried, and I would be happy to read your comments. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.